Oh my goodness, everybody, if that wasn't loud enough to get your attention that all things impossible in love, I don't know what is. And it's with a glaring scream that we welcome you into that energy, that we welcome you to the next season, season 18 of Beyond the Ordinary show. And what an amazing way to start it off. And again, we didn't mean to play the music that loud, and if it blared you and grounded you back into this reality, I'm actually grateful for it, because I want to be super embodied into what's coming in through Sara, through the other speakers that we have on in this season, through the amazing information that's going to be shared. And for me, this is the season of embodiment. It's breaking. We've been integrating. We've been getting awareness from a higher place and grounding it in and playing in the back and forth, maybe the ping pong or tennis, going back and forth, that energy. And I truly believe, for me, it's the season. It's coming up in our awareness and our consciousness, and Sara may share a similar perspective, or one that's even more expanded in a different way, on how it's time for us to own it. It's time for us to bring it in. It's time for us to say yes to this amazing, luminous, radiant love and powerhouse that we are, and what does that mean for our lives and for the rest of humanity. It's an exciting time, and again, I'm so thrilled to get this season started and rocking and rolling. So it's with that I want to invite you to welcome our inaugural guest for season 18, Sara Landon, who is a dear friend, an amazing teacher, a channel with the council, an extraordinary being who is a walking example of what's possible when you dare to open to your heart, integrate it, and walk that path every day in love. And not that it's an outside expression of something that we strive for, but as a byproduct of us saying yes to the truth of who we are. So, again, Sara's an amazing channel for a council, for a group of wisdom called the council, if you're not familiar with her, and you will experience maybe the council today, and definitely a lot of Sara Landon as we get into today's call. And again, today's invitation is inviting you into, are you ready for what comes next? And it's the path of the Wayshower, which is what I believe we're here to embody. And so it's with that, Sara, that I welcome you, and thank you so much for kicking off this amazing season on BTO.
Oh, thank you. I am so happy and so grateful to be here, and so excited to help you kick off season 18. And I could not think of a better lyrics to a song than "With love, anything and everything is possible." And this truly is. I was telling a client this yesterday. It was my deepest longing of my heart to know the truth of those words, that with love, anything was possible. I remember as a child, the one thing that stuck out to me about Christianity or religion was this: with God, all things are possible. And I wanted to know that in the core of my being, in every cell of my body. I wanted that to be true. And yet I hadn't experienced it yet. And it was through this journey of our awakening experience that on the other side of that, I can absolutely look anybody in the eye and promise you that with love, in love, you can do the most impossible. You can do all things. Anything and everything is possible for you with love. And really, that's the most difficult part, is the love. And if you can get the love part, really, really get the love part, open your heart, start living in your heart, start moving from that space and being in that space and finding, more importantly, your power from that place, you will absolutely realize the power of love to change your life, to change our world. We have been talking about this so much lately, the changes we've all had in our own lives, the change we want to create, changes we're going through, and yet we are not here as Wayshowers to fix a broken world. You are not here to save the world. You're not here to change people. You are here to love people, because love is what changes people, and love is what will change our world. And it is when people have loved you that you changed. And I can tell you, even in my own experience of our friendship, John, the love, the level of connection and kindness and co-creating, when you experience that with someone from a deep, loving place, it just changes you for the better in every way. And you just realize more and more and more of the truth of who you are. So there could not be a better song lyrics to kick off this season. And I just am so grateful to be here with you.
I'm grateful too. I actually wanted to ask you a question, because we can talk about this until we're blue in the face as a concept. And for a lot of the speakers, and for you, sir, again, I know you so personally, I know it's your way of being, and we can come from a mental perspective to share that. But I'd love it if you shared, because you shared recently you had like this crazy weekend not too long ago where all things seem to go topsy-turvy in so many different ways, where you're witnessing different things happening around you. And it's really the way that you navigated through it that's really exemplifying to me what's not only what you do and walking your talk, but what's possible for people that show up for your webinars, that show up for your calls, that are really committed to having that kind of compassion and walking their way of wisdom in the same way.
Yeah, I would love to share that. So first off, we have talked about this before, and I think it's really important if you haven't heard us talk about this. But, for those of us who find ourselves in this role of the Wayshower, we have usually come to this role after having our own wake-up call, whatever that was. For most all of us, and for people that are really drawn to my work specifically, in the 2006, 7, 8 time frame, about 10 or 11 years ago, we experienced this huge wake-up call. It might have been a disease or an illness or a death of a loved one or your own near-death experience or the end of a marriage or relationship or the loss of a business or money. But it was this experience of feeling like everything was falling apart, that you were losing yourself, that you may have been experiencing some level of success, but still inside feeling really empty and unhappy and not sure what your purpose was. And as much as we were grasping on to the falling away of what was, we didn't know what was coming next. And at least for me, I didn't have the wisdom and the answers for that to be an easy, effortless, harmonious transformation for me in my life. And I've yet to find very many people in this journey of being a Wayshower that didn't experience something very similar. I know you have as well, and we've talked about that. Most all people that come to find me or are drawn to this work and drawn to the council have had some level of success in their life, and yet they're still asking themselves, what is my purpose and how do I live it? And we make it this big, grandiose, impossible thing that we're always in pursuit of what is our purpose and how do we live it. And there are some specific things that you're here to do. And I think if you're listening to this, you are here to be a Wayshower, and we'll talk more about what that means for you, what your role is and why that's important. But you probably are this person who always finds yourself as the one others go to lean on or confide in, or, maybe even strangers lean on you or tell you things or come to you for inspiration. But there is this innate feeling within you that you really want to live in a world where there's peace and joy and love and abundance for all beings, and that you really do want to create a better world. And you have a purpose, but you might not be sure exactly what that is and how to live it. And oftentimes I see people feeling so stuck because they create such a huge gap between where they are and how they live their purpose. And yet your life is your purpose. You already are your purpose. And the journey is to allow more and more and more of who you already are and who you've always really been to express through you, to let the love and the light that you are through you, and to bring all this incredible wisdom. But it's really using your life to show people and others around you and to shine the light on a better way forward for everyone. And so I had this experience last weekend. Our family had a particular plan. My father was coming to visit me, and I was really excited. And in the course of about 12 hours, following the big eclipse energy that we had, I had several people go through these intense awakening experiences all around me. And I have never known more fully in my being that there is no greater joy in this world than being a wayshower. And had I not gone through my own awakening experience and really applied with counsel of the wisdom of the counsel in my own life, you know, I maybe wouldn't have stepped into my opportunity to really live the reason we're here. And so what happened was my father called me the night before he was supposed to be here, and he was very sad and upset because he wasn't going to be able to come. He was supposed to be on an early flight at like 6 a.m. and arrive at my house at about 1, and you know, due to some circumstances, he was really upset that he wasn't going to be able to make it. And yet, you know, I didn't get upset. I didn't react. I just sort of stayed in my heart, and I said, you know, Dad, we don't always understand God's plan, but God has a plan here. There's a reason for it. We just got to trust that it's all going to work out. Things are always working out. You know, these things that the council said, but I actually used his language, you know, the words that speak to him, and for him, it's God. And so I knew he was upset, but we hung up the phone. The next morning I wake up, and he said, I changed my mind. I am going to come. I'm just on a later flight. So I was excited about that, and I walked into my gym, and within a few minutes of being there, I found out a friend of mine's wife had died. And as I was in the conversation of that, my dad's wife called and told me that my grandmother had gone in, was being sent to the hospital for an emergency surgery, and they did not expect her to make it. And there was just these series of events that all came to the surface where all these people around me were going through that awakening experience that I knew I had gone through and that many others listening to this call had gone through. And yet there was such an absolute sense of peace and feeling so grounded and just so in my heart that I knew every single thing that was going on was happening for me, was happening for them. So long story short, my grandmother ended up having multiple surgeries. She did survive, but had my dad been on the original flight he was supposed to be on, he would have been stuck in the Dallas airport while my grandmother was going through these life-saving surgeries, and he would have been far worse off than had he made that flight. And yet on Friday night, it was really hard to see how anything worse could possibly happen or how anything good could come from the situation that was going on just 12 hours before. And yet, looking back, you can see that it was being divinely orchestrated, and it is our opportunity in times like that to, you know, not go down into the lower vibrations of judgment of people or situations, or to react, or to say, oh, that's terrible. You know, this is what we have prepared for. This is your time to shine. This is your time to lead through it. And in the same time frame, you know, people ask me a lot of times about the word responsibility. And we often feel this sense of responsibility for creating a better world. And I know for myself, it's that responsibility that continually sort of inspires me to do more and to do this work, and provides me with such great joy. But it's hard sometimes to know what is and isn't our responsibility. And I had really asked that question, you know, how do we know what's in our responsibility? What is our responsibility? And, you know, it's really this understanding of what we entangle ourselves in. So in addition to all of this, I had entangled myself in a situation between two friends that had been in a relationship and had broke up. And I was trying to offer my infinite wisdom and guidance. I jokingly say that.
I get
in
that.
the situation to one of my friends. And she went back and kind of interpreted it to her former significant other in a little bit different way than I said it, and it wasn't taken so well. And, you know, I'll tell you, my first reaction was, not my problem. You know, it was to go into this kind of defensive mode of why I was right, and then I caught myself, and I realized, and this is just such a practice for us all, like catching that and realizing, you know, I could say this doesn't involve me, but if it's in your space and it is something you have entangled yourself in, it is your responsibility to be the loving solution, to take the higher road, and sometimes to do the more difficult thing. So I know if I would have just let it be, my friend's partner probably would have been irritated or ticked at me for a few days, you know, maybe never would have liked me as much again or whatever. But I also realized that it wasn't about that. And that's what happens for us a lot of times too. If you identify with someone who's really compassionate and cares about others, you know, sometimes you can be questioning whether, am I doing this to fit in or be liked? And yet there's an energy even beyond that, that if you're really in your heart, you know that in any situation you can create the opportunity for a more loving outcome, that there really is only love, and in any situation there is that opportunity. So I picked up the phone and I called him, and I just said, hey, I care about you. I care about our friendship. I want to talk to you about, you know, the conversation. I want you, you know, I want to shine some light on what my intention was or the context of it. And, you know, I just realized that sometimes just taking that one little step, I wasn't expecting any particular outcome. I didn't need him to agree with me or understand. But it is sometimes like stepping in fully to being in your heart and picking up the phone and saying, hey, let's talk. And coming at it from a place of knowing that you have the opportunity to transmute any and all things back into love, at least for yourself. And it's not your responsibility how the other person reacts, but really, truly, we are coming to this place of understanding our power, and our power is love. And if you will do this one simple thing and just move your awareness from your head down into your heart, like really do this, move your focus, move your attention, move your energy down into your heart, and experience others, experience the world around you from that place, because that's where all your power is. It's from really that area to the top of your abdomen to your heart, that chest area. That is where your power is. And you are an endless generator of power and love. But that's where your power comes from. That's where the love comes from. But most of the time, we're in our head trying to figure out what to say or what to do or how to respond. But if you will get really comfortable to going down into your heart, and I refer to this as really your sacred heart, and I know other spiritual teachers that do as well, but it's this sacred place within you where all of your power lies. And if you go into conversations from that place and staying in that place, the highest words will come through you, or no words will come through you. And sometimes the most loving thing to do is not say anything and not try to fix it, but just to be in your heart and hold the space and infuse that space with love and compassion and kindness. But the council says, and this was a huge aha moment for me, it's not that we're afraid of our power. It's that all of our power is in the now moment. You can only access your power when you're in the present moment. So if you are stressed and anxious and worried about what you're going to say a week from now or a month from now, or what if this happens, and you're out stressed and anxious and worried about the future, you're not in your power. So if whatever's showing up in your space right now, you're not bringing your full power to. If you're in the past with shame and guilt and resentment and all those things, you don't have any power over that stuff. And whatever's showing up in your experience right now, you don't have power over. And so if you come fully present in this now moment, and you know that no matter what happens, you can always find this present moment and drop into your heart, you will always know what to say. You will always know what to do. And you can move through life in this sacred heart space, and you will find that you are so much more powerful. And it's not because you're telling people what to do, and you're not trying to change everybody or fix everything, but you can really find the love for everyone and every situation when you're in that space. And you can't get there through your head. You have to go into your heart, which means to move your awareness into your heart and allow the light and the love to really flow through you. Does that make sense, John?
Oh, it makes so much sense. And it really brings me to a point, again, we talked about this the other day and your awareness of what's coming in. And really, we'll get into a special offer also, but it really is this path of the Wayshower. So everybody that's on the call listening to the replay. And by the way, we are going to take Q&A a little bit later, so hang out for that because I want Sara to take some questions. Maybe even the council will come in. We'll see how that flows, but we definitely want to get into Q&A. And what's happening, Sara, is that there's this awakening happening on a global level. It's unprecedented. You talk about it, and the people that are receiving, those of us who are saying yes to having this awareness and this consciousness wake up within us, are leading the way as the path of the Wayshower.
Indeed. Yeah. And you have been prepared. And really, the council says this is the most incredible time that has ever existed in our human experience. And our human family is going to start awakening at an unprecedented rate, which means your family members, your friends, your coworkers, people in your community, they are going to start waking up all around you. And that's really what I experienced a couple weekends ago, where, you know, some of the people directly in my space, family members that are most important to me, were going through such a deep, deep, deep wake-up call and awakening moment. I know that they are changed forever. And yet, when you have those experiences, you know, it's possible, and this is what the council says, that with your help, stepping really into your role as a Wayshower, the awakening journey for those around us can be so much more loving and harmonious and gentle than maybe what some of us experienced as we were stepping through the illusion and remembering who we are and finding our own way back to the light. And I asked this question to someone recently: if you just make it easier for one person, will that be enough? And I could just feel the answer to that in my heart, which is yes. But your love can make it easier for everyone around you to go through this great awakening. And not that it's your job, but if you're listening to this, I would bet that you really resonate deeply somewhere within you, that you know that that's why you're here, that you do have a role to play in the great awakening that is happening in our human family right now. But you have been uniquely prepared. That's why you went through it 10 years ago. For many of us, we went through it 10, 11 years ago, and then we had an even sort of deepening experience of that in 2011 and 12. But here on forward, we are in a cycle of really deeply stepping into our gifts, our abilities, and how we use them to positively impact the world around us. And I know for many people, you might still feel stuck or sort of unable to move forward or not really sure how to use your gifts and your purpose. And the thing I see for people so many times is that you're trying to make your gift or your purpose your job and your business, and you're trying to monetize it. And there is a little misalignment in that. For many people, their gifts, their ability, their talents will manifest themselves in a job or a business or a career or a product or a service, like you have done, John, like I have done, like many others have done. But I have to say, it is oftentimes you will find yourself sharing your gifts and your talents and your ability with people that aren't your clients. They're your family members. They're your friends. They're the stranger at the restaurant or the grocery store. They're the checkout person at the grocery store. Like, don't limit your gifts, your talents, and how you use them. And for so many people right now, you have an ability. You're a healer. You're a seer. You're a messenger. You're a channel. You're a guide. You're a wayshower, and you're not really sure how to fully embody that. And yet, if you would just decide that this is who you are and open yourself up to be used as an instrument of the divine for something greater, you will find that the most fulfilling thing that you experience is being used as a miracle for someone else. And I recently was having this conversation because I do believe there is a huge evolution to the law of attraction, and it works very differently now than when many of us started using the law of attraction, you know, especially around the time 2007, where you may have looked around and said, oh, I want to manifest this or that, and you got it, and then you wanted to unmanifest it, and then you were afraid of your power because you felt like you misused it, and so we don't fully express ourselves. And a big part of your own self-mastery is self-expression and creating beauty around you. And how do you want to create that beauty? But understanding that you have the opportunity all the time to be using your gift. And it may not look like the way everybody else uses their gift, but I'll tell you this. So, for example, the law of attraction might say that, well, if you're really in alignment, if you're really in a high vibration, then you should be manifesting the first class airplane seat on the airplane, right? Or you should get the upgrade all the time, or you should be first in line, or you should get the parking spot, or you should get the green light. But divine orchestration doesn't work that way. And really being what I call an employee of the universe, which is really the path of the wayshower, which we should talk about, it works very differently. What if the person that you're supposed to meet is sitting in seat 26C? And the highest and best good for you for that flight is to be sitting next to that person. And then if you can get to the understanding that it's not because you're going to get something from that person, it's not because they're necessarily going to be your next client, or they're going to buy your book, or they're going to give something to you. But what if the reason that you're there is really to give something to them? What if the words that you say to them change their life forever? What if you say something like, you know, I really do believe everything happens for a reason. I really do think everything's going to work out for you. I really do think that you have a great gift or ability. What if your whole reason for being on that flight is for that moment where the divine works through you and the highest words come through you, and it might not make any sense to you. You might not even remember what you said, but you will feel and you will know when you are being used as an instrument of the divine. You will feel it in your body that something just happened. Something extraordinary just happened. Something miraculous just happened. And the more you start recognizing it, the better it gets. The more you're living in your heart, the more that expands, and your life just continues to get better and better and better. And we really are creating a new paradigm here. As part of this great awakening, in our own raising of our consciousness, our conscious awareness, we are living in higher states of existence, higher states of awareness, where more and more and more is possible for us. But what's also possible for us is to create a new paradigm the way we want it to be. What does a loving, authentic, intimate relationship look like? We're moving beyond this idea that there's just this one person that you love and that's the only person you have a meaningful, deep, authentic relationship with. What if love is everywhere and that's possible with any and all the relationships in your life, and it might be different. It's not to say that intimacy is sexual, but having this deep, intimate connection, whether you've known someone for years and years and years, or you just meet them in that moment and you feel that deep sense of connection. It's also understanding that from higher states of awareness and consciousness, that healing works different. The body works different. The cells in your body want different things, align with different things. It also means that money works very, very differently in a fifth dimensional reality than it does in a third dimensional reality. So the third dimensional reality being where there's separation and judgment and prejudice and lack and scarcity and suffering. And yet we all, every single one of us, in every moment of the day, have the opportunity to step into fully living in a fifth dimension where love is everywhere, where your body is always, always seeking to heal itself, always. And where miracles and divine orchestration are your everyday experience, and where money, abundance, prosperity flows to you, but it doesn't work the same way in a fifth dimension as it does in a third. The old ways of the third dimension do not work in the fifth dimension, and this is why I think most people get stuck. They love being in the higher vibrations, they love the higher states of consciousness, but they want to bring the old ways of being and doing and thinking into higher dimensional states, and it doesn't work. And then they get frustrated. You've got to surrender and let go of those old ways of doing things, those limited ways of doing things, because there is a new paradigm of love and relationships and health and wealth and community. And I really want to hit on this point because as part of this Great Awakening experience, we are going to see a huge emphasis on community. If you haven't been feeling it yourself, you're going to start noticing it. But community is a really important part of this awakening experience. So we see this in master's class or like membership communities. We see this in, people coming together in communities. But if you are not really feeling like you're living your purpose, if you don't have a lot of joy in your life, you probably don't have community. And it is one of the things I would really encourage you to create a sense of community in your life. Because as Wayshowers, you're going to find yourself showing the way or guiding the way or lighting the way forward through all sorts of different experiences. And people aren't going to speak your same language. That doesn't mean that you can't experience love with that person. That doesn't mean you can't experience connection. It's actually kind to speak to someone in their language that they understand, and we don't need them to speak like we speak. But for those of us who deeply love, like you and me, talking about this stuff, right, having a sense of community, which is what you've really created here. And I can tell you with all of my heart, the BTO community has changed my life. And I wouldn't be where I am and doing the work that I am doing at this particular level without this incredible community and what you have created here, John. And it's just amazing to me, and I just feel so blessed to be a part of it and so blessed to share this conversation about the path of the Wayshower and the special offer with the BTO audience, who I love so much.
And they love you too. We get that from all the responses that come in. How much resonance there is in this relaxation. Something that you mentioned earlier was that we get into this work that it's our job, it's our work. Some of us feel to assist others through this, and it really isn't the work. And I really wanted to touch the point on it. And it's an energetic. Once you get it to be your joy and not your work, it's a game changer. And when we're in that joy, it may not always feel like happiness. There could be contraction coming up within us as we acclimate to our version of what that is. There could be this resistance that comes up in the contraction that's inviting us to let go, to let others experience their own growth without us having to push them through it. but there's a joy that emanates from it that is beyond this temporary emotional experience, and it penetrates deep into our heart as an awareness. And that's what you are inviting people into. That weekend that you had where you had all these things that seemingly seemed like huge contractions and things that were working out, the things that were falling apart, in your allowing and letting go and being in your joy of service, all these magical outcomes lined up in a way that you couldn't have possibly have controlled had you tried to do it the way that you've been taught.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you brought up, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I brought it up.
So, I want to explain a couple of things because people ask this a lot. Am I always going to be processing stuff? Like, am I always going
oh my God, right?
working through stuff, right? and the answer is yes, and the answer is you have an incredible opportunity to see it for what it really is. And the council explained this in our recent master's class call. But, if all of us would say, if asked the question, do you want to live in a higher vibration? Yes. Do you want to access higher states of consciousness? Yes. Do you want to live in a higher state of awareness and possibility where anything and everything's possible for you? Yes. Do you constantly want to be ascending to a greater sense of what's possible here? I think we would all say yes. But here's the thing. Every time you raise your vibration and you sort of move up the ladder or climb the ladder up, anything that is not in alignment to that is going to come to the light, or it's going to feel out of harmony with you. And if it doesn't adjust to align with you, it can't go with you where you're going. So if you have a desire to do something, a new goal, anything that is not in alignment to that is going to come to the light so that you can release it and let it go, so that you can keep moving up, keep raising your vibration, keep accessing greater states of conscious awareness where more and more and more is possible and opens up for you. So if you can see that going through the quote unquote work is actually exciting and you can find some peace in that and be really comfortable and get really good at that, it will absolutely change your life. You do not ever have to struggle and suffer and be miserable and uncomfortable again when you really understand what's going on. This ascension is not about leaving our body. It's about perceiving beyond our physical senses and opening up to the more that's possible for us. But as we raise our vibrations and our consciousness, we are not able to maintain higher states of frequency if the things around us, if we're not letting go of those things that are not in alignment with that. So there are very different laws at higher states of frequency and vibration and consciousness. It's a much different experience and so much more opens up for us. But if things are not aligned, they don't go with you. The other thing, and that doesn't mean things can't change, that's a whole piece that we will be covering in the course, but anytime you raise your vibration, you will notice anything that isn't in alignment to that vibration is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to come to the light, and it's going to need to resonate at the vibration you're in, or it can't continue to ascend with you. And that means the old stories that you're telling, that means you're wanting to control, that means shame, all of those feelings. So I just want to shed some light on that because it's really important. The other thing that people ask, and you hit on it, this when you're really doing your work, when you're sharing your gifts and your abilities and your talents, it does not feel like work. I do my work with the council pretty much every day, all hours of the day, and it's not my work. It's my joy. It's my purpose. It's who I am. And you embody that so beautifully, John, that, this is just who you are. But here's the thing I want you to understand. For those of you who feel really stuck about using your gifts and your abilities, you're probably trying to monetize them. You're probably trying to create a business out of them. And oftentimes where the issue arises a bit is there's a really delicate balance between giving and receiving and how that aligns with your self-worth and your value. So we've been talking so much about this path of the Wayshower and really stepping into being an employee of the universe, which means if you worked in a company where you were working on behalf of a corporation or an organization and they needed you to do a project or a job and you needed to fly somewhere, they're going to pay your bills. They're going to cover your expenses. They're going to cover your hotel. And the universe will support you in the same way. It might come in expected ways through a business or monetizing your product or your service or your gift, but it can also come in unexpected ways. The point is that if you're really in alignment to it, it comes easily, effortlessly, and harmoniously. However, if you are sort of demanding it and your self-worth and your own value are not in alignment with it, it's very hard for money to flow to you. So I see this a lot with people that want to do coaching. But then underneath it, the belief is, but I don't have it all figured out myself, so how can I really be a good coach? Or they have a challenge of really receiving for the hourly rate that they're charging. But when they look at the other side of the value they're bringing, their worth and the wisdom they have, and that you could be saving people years of disharmony or unhappy relationships or lack of good health and well-being or not living their purpose. What is the cost of that? And when you really understand the worth and the value that you're providing, then you give where you feel you are called to give, and you recognize that where you give is not always the place you receive it back from. We get really stuck on this. I did this for someone, they should be giving me this. Where sometimes you get really guided to give and put it out there, and you don't receive direct compensation in that moment from that person. But if you're really valuing your worth, if you're really giving from your heart, if you're really sharing your gifts, your abilities, your talents with the world, I promise you, you will be divinely compensated through resources, through connections, through money, through all sorts of ways. But also don't limit that, because the most abundant thing for you right now might not be what you think it is. You might think, well, I want $10,000. That's how I'll know I'm in abundance. That's how the universe can reflect back to me my worth. And yet, I love this question the council says. How do you, the limited you, really know what's best for you? How do you know that that's really what's best for you? What if the very thing that is in your highest and best good is a new friend that you meet, that together you create something beautiful, or that through that connection that resources come to you, or connections or networks open up to you that change your life, that are worth so much more than that $10,000 you thought was the only thing that was going to reflect your abundance to you. When we start seeing abundance and prosperity and wealth for what it really is, we open for the universe to deliver things to us easily, effortlessly, harmoniously, in expected and unexpected ways, and we step into how compensation, wealth, abundance works differently when you're in a fifth dimension versus the third dimension. Does that all make sense, John?
Oh, it all makes sense. And I took a pause so that we can allow that to sink in, because there's a lot of transmissions going on here, not only in the remembrance from everybody that's listening. This is sparking not only an awareness, but a remembrance, and it's bringing us back to ourselves. I love that the music at the beginning of the call, if anyone jumped in late, it's like the music blared us and grounding us back in to remember to come back into our bodies, to remember to come back into our hearts. Is this invitation that you're speaking about.
And again, love, you can do anything and everything becomes possible for you.
And again, and isn't that the path of the Wayshower? We've complicated what it means to be a light worker and a spiritual person and how to show up in love. And we've created all these conditions around it. and come back to this conversation, come back to this transmission of remembrance. And in that, you'll find that the only requirements is the alchemy of your intention of being in joy, of being open to your heart, and being into the flow of what that creates together as an expression of the love that you are. So this is phenomenal, sir. I love this conversation, how it's just expanding what we're bringing in this season. I want to get into your special offer, which is, guys, what Sarah put together for $97. And I want to get into Q&A first, because I know we're going to have some testimonials coming in there as well. So if you guys want to ask your questions, the time is coming up now. So press, what is it? I forgot. Oh, my God, it's been a whole season. What do we press to raise our hands? You'll figure it out. Oh, my God, I'm drawing a blank right now. Star 2 to raise your hands, or star 5. April, what is it? April will text me in a second, and I'll remember. Or you can type your question into the webcast page. And before we get into the Q&A, again, and we will go through thoroughly what's in this Wayshower program that Sarah's put together. And it is deep, it goes wide, it goes into the heart, and you just will change on so many levels by going deeper into what's being shared through Sara and the council. And Sarah's always teaching 2 steps ahead of what she's being shown. So it's fresh with her. She's integrating more. There's so much. So it also speaks volumes for you who are showing up to these courses of Sara, because there's something in you that already knows this. It's this remembrance, and what magical energy to get to play in that together and amplify it for one another as you go through those courses. So again, we're going to get to the special offer in just a little bit. And Sara, I'd love to open up for some Q&A if you're open to that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to.
Okay, so let's go. So I want to go through live question first. And April, did you text me? It's again, I feel like it feels like I've been off forever from BTO. And I'll remember how to do it.
I think it's star 2, John, to raise your hand. Star 2.
It's star 2. That's right. Star 2 to raise your hand. So it's funny how this is coming up. And with that, let's take our first caller. The first caller that I want to take is a live call from New Iberia, Louisiana. Telephone number ending in 8382.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the call.
Hello.
Who are we speaking with?
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Thank you for.
Who are we talking to?
Hi. Darlene.
Hi, Darlene. What is your question for Sara?
Darlene, yes.
Darlene. D-A-R-L-E-N-E. Darlene. Hello?
All right, Darlene. Darlene, we're here. What is your question for Sara?
I just wanted to see what you could tell me about me.
What's your question? What do you want to know about you?
Whatever you feel.
So it's interesting. I'll tell you, this is oftentimes sort of what we do. And so our guides are always trying to respond to us and guide us and support us. And yet sometimes when we don't make it clear what we really want, what we really want to know, what we really want to open to. So the truth of who you are is light. The truth of who you are is love. And you're here with a very specific desire to bring more love and joy and wisdom to the world and to people around you. I really do feel those words for you, love and joy and wisdom. And yet just knowing that life is always responding to you. So everything is happening for you. You can't get this wrong. Everything happens in divine time.
Okay.
And that when, this is an interesting thing that came up recently, and it seems really pertinent to you, that, sometimes we get in these stories about our lives, and about why we are the way we are and why things are the way they are, or what certain things have manifested in our life and our body, and that's just the way it is. And what the council is inviting us into is the awareness that from the highest perspective of who you are this incredible power. And the power that creates worlds flows through you. So the only reason that we hang on to our stories and keep telling our old stories is because we're getting something from it. And that if you really want to experience and open to all that is here for you, it's seeing where your old stories, where you're still getting something from it, that if you really let go of that story and let what's really trying to come through as your truth, that you will feel a deeper sense of your own power and a deeper understanding of how Source works through you.
That's
And
interesting.
I just feel that there's so much love trying to come through you, but it's sort of blocked on behind these sort of barriers, and I'm not sure if it's so much of an idea of you can't really have what you want, or you don't really get what you want, or that you can't totally trust and have faith. But
that's it right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I just, with all of my heart, I just want to tell you that you can absolutely trust yourself and have faith in who you are, and that all that you really know within you to be true is real.
Interesting.
Thank
you.
Yeah, that's what I get for you, and I just send you so much love. I know this path is not always easy until it is, and it just gets better. And I think you're just right on the edge of that, of just letting go. And people ask me all the time, what the heck does that mean? What do I love? Like, what am I supposed to surrender? And people will say, I surrendered again, and I let go again. And what is it that you're surrendering and letting go of? We have to surrender the need to control and to force the outcome to be our way on our timeline. And we must let go of the thoughts we're thinking that keep us stuck, and the stories that keep us in this loop where the same thing just continues to show up, because that's how powerful you are. We absolutely must release the guilt and the shame and the feelings of unworthiness and the old stories and the pains of the past, because they simply cannot go with us into these higher states of being. And it is so incredibly freeing when you just let them go. Because if you notice, you have to be in your head to be telling the old story. You have to be in your head to be trying to control things and figure it out. You have to be in your head to be in those thoughts of guilt and shame and unworthiness. But the second you just move your attention down into your heart and take a breath and feel that space around your heart, your whole body will get lighter. You'll feel a calmness. That's the letting go. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. So, just sending you so much love, Darlene. Thank you for your question.
Thanks for calling, Darlene.
Thanks, John. Have a great night.
Yeah. You're welcome, Darlene. And I can feel Darlene's heart opening and expanding at the end of the call compared to the beginning. And I have to share this, Sarah. And isn't that just the true path of the Wayshower? And Sarah, again, you led it and you exemplified it so beautifully. Darlene required nothing else except some form of I love you and I see you. And that's what you reflected back to her in words energetically that you saw that can be received. And in that, the melting of this barrier, that this defensiveness, that it's only continuing our suffering as the barrier. Even as we align ourselves with people that we know are safe, we still have this shield up sometimes. And again, sometimes just the words, I love you, or the feeling of the tone of, I see you, I love you, or I know you're in pain, or I know it's confusing, or I know that you're angry, or I know that you're frustrated, or I know that there's another step and you don't see it clear yet, and I'm here with you. Just those words, those reassuring words of love, that alone can shift someone's life. And so, Darlene, thank you for calling in and for sharing your heart in that way. It's very vulnerable to do that, and also very liberating. So my clarion call to everyone listening is to be brave and let it out, be vulnerable, because in that vulnerability also, the other side of that is your strength, is your own awareness, is your expression of love for others. So wonderful, Sara. Sara, let me go to a live question here. Actually, I have two questions that I want to go to. One is more of a comment that comes from Nicola in Australia. Nicola, thank you for listening at this time. I know it's early actually over there. So she writes, hi, Sara. I'm absolutely loving this call, and I really just wanted to let your listeners know how wonderful the master classes, as well as how it has genuinely changed my life for the better. The sense of community is wonderful and so very important to me. I just really want to say thank you, and I can't wait for the new course. So, Nicola, we'll get into the course here in a second. Now, I want to take this other call first before we get into the special offer. Then we'll take some more Q&A also. But there's a question that comes from Stephen in South Jersey. And, Stephen, thank you for writing in. And it seems so simple, and I know that you and the council will have an amazing response to this. So Stephen writes, is knowing where I come from an important part of deciding where I go?
The important part is to take all of who you are into every moment. Take all of who you are into every moment. And it's really in that presence. You know, I think sometimes we go through these transformations and we want to shed the layers. We want to take the masks off. But don't discard the gift that every experience has been for you. In our times of feeling sadness and pain and all of those things, you know, we learn something about compassion. We learn something about the power of kindness. We learn something about what it feels like to feel alone or unsafe. And you don't have to go back into those lower vibrational frequencies to be a compassionate person and be loving and kind and hold the space for other people who may be experiencing that. But because you know what that feels like, you can hold the space for others to find their way through those difficult times. In this crazy weekend, and I don't mean that with judgment. It was just like, wow, interesting. In addition to that, I had another friend who was diagnosed with cancer, and another friend whose brother had committed suicide, all in this sort of 24-hour period. And I remember sitting with my friend that was diagnosed, and I know what that feels like. I know, because I have had cancer myself and been diagnosed and been scared, I know what that feels like. But I didn't have to say, I caught myself, because what we want to say is, oh, that's so terrible. That's awful. Then we want to be the cheerleader and say, you're going to be fine. You're going to beat this. You're going to fight it. You're going to make it. None of that is it. All she needed from me was to sit there and look her in the eye and be there and hold the space and not lose my way. This is our our job as the Wayshower. I often talk about this because it was helpful to me. So if it's helpful to you, it's worth repeating. But I feel there's a big difference between empathy and compassion. You could know what it's like to lose a loved one to cancer. You may have lost your own mother or father or child or friend, and you know what that feels like. Empathy is when we go down into another's pain and we feel their pain. That is not what I'm asking you to do. Compassion is to recognize without any judgment when someone is in pain, but to hold the space and to infuse that space with love and kindness and compassion. And sometimes the wisest thing that you can do is say nothing and just be there with them, be in your power. And, you know, to Darlene's question, what I really got about halfway through it is just knowing that you're worthy enough of someone's time, but just to be in their presence and that they're holding the space and that they see you and that you matter enough for someone to stop and focus totally on you with their absolute presence in that moment. So knowing where you come from, taking all of your experiences, knowing that all of the things that you have gone through have prepared you. And yes, you're going somewhere, but being so present to where you are right now and who is in your space. And here's the miraculous thing. We talk about this like there is no time and space. And, you know, somewhere we kind of understand that, you know, time and space works differently in a third dimension than it does in a higher dimension. And yet I have had this experience more times than I can count, where I, being a recovering type A, always on time person, not that you know anything about
You're
that,
so
John.
Funny.
I, you know, John will tell you I'm very, you know, very structured and organized about things sometimes. So I have a schedule, and I had a particular experience where I was very much on a schedule. I went to the gym. I had a certain amount of time to work out. I had a certain amount to get ready and get out of there and be at an appointment at a certain time. And I walked in on my schedule, and I walked by a woman in the gym, and I looked at her and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yeah." And I just, like, I didn't even think about it. I just hugged her, and she just started crying, and she sat there and talked to me, you know. But I was so in this sacred space, I could just feel it. It wasn't like I need to get going, I need to hurry up. I just knew this is why I walked into this gym at this time. I was actually not there at a normal time. And I knew that that's why I was there. So I went about my workout, showered. Somehow I actually got on to my appointment exactly on time, even though that unanticipated 20 minutes. Like, the universe will organize itself to make sure you get where you need to be, when you need to be there. And sometimes the most important thing is not staying on the schedule. But that's what happens when you live in this fifth dimensional world, and there's just nothing better than when you absolutely know that you have been divinely guided to a particular place at a particular time for whatever reason. And sometimes we don't know why we're there. But being absolutely present to where you are, knowing that you're going to continue to move forward and expand, it's the best feeling. It's really the best. So I think it was Stephen from South Jersey. I hope that's helpful. Yeah, I feel complete.
Awesome. That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and such a great answer. And about going to our previous experiences, like, and knowing where we've been before, it starts going out of linear time for me also, Sarah. And we've had conversations about this where time doesn't make sense. And I also felt that there's an invitation to embrace all aspects of who we are as part of our path of the Wayshower. And so in that, it's not so much a remembering, it's really an embracing for where we've been before and embracing the potentiality of where we're going with that awe and wonder. that creates the experience in the present moment as to what's possible within us, and also what's possible as we show others through our creative energy, what's possible in the world.
Yeah. And, sometimes this is a shift I had to make as well. And if it's helpful to someone, I think it's really worth sharing. The reason we tell stories, the reason we tell our stories about what happened, the reason you tell the story about this experience you went through, or the time you had that same illness as they had, or the time you went through the same type of breakup, the reason we tell stories is to connect. And you do not need a story to connect. If you're really in your heart, you will absolutely feel the connection there, and no words will be needed. And yes, there will be words sometimes, but sometimes you can demonstrate your absolute competency and experience with a particular thing just by what you say and the questions you ask and how you are compassionate to another person. You don't have to go back into your story. And I would just invite you, and this is something I continually practice all the time. If you are telling your story, is it coming from your place of power, or is it taking you back into a victim space, and now you're sort of finding common ground in, where they're feeling like a victim? That's not going to feel good to you. And that is why sometimes you'll feel like you take on other people's stuff, or you're really sensitive, because you don't have to go back into the feeling like a victim if that's where they're feeling, or that's where they're at. But if you can know that your experience, the wisdom that you've collected, all the things that you've been through have prepared you to really be this incredible being of light in the world, and to guide the way forward for others so it is easier for others, and really embody that path of the Wayshower. Just by you loving them, you will feel that connection. Just by being in your heart, they will feel that connection to you. And it might just be certain words that you say, and you don't go back into the story. Sometimes that's so much more powerful.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. And again, I love the way that you lead and embody this, Sarah, and the way that you teach it. So, and everybody, Sarah goes deeper. It's like, if you want to know what your divine mission is and what your responsibility of the Wayshower is, right? That's a key question. And then how to discover our gifts. And if we know what some of them are, how to use them and those abilities and power, and how to augment those. And then from there, you get into co-creating and manifesting and converting light to form. And then you build on that, because then you add it to all these different applications in your personal relationship and love and health, with money, in a whole new way of doing these things. And as we embody that, then you start taking it out as an inspired leader into the world. And it's so exciting. And everyone on the call, all this is what Sarah teaches and so much more. I want you guys to go deep with Sarah in the council through this special offer. It's a $400 value. It's $97. It is so rich. And everybody I know that has taken Sarah's courses, they fall in love. They go deeper, and you just don't stop at one. And to be able to get there at this price is amazing. So I want to invite everyone listening, follow us as Sarah describes what you'll be receiving through this very special offer on BTO. So click on the special offer button that's on the webcast page. If you can't find the special offer button, it's right underneath Sarah's picture where you're listening to this call from, either on your phone or on your PC, laptop. Or you can also get to the special offer by typing into the web browser beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Sara, SARA, and the number 18, and it'll take you to that same page. And Sarah, if you would lead us through what you've put together in the special offer in the path of the Wayshower.
Yeah, I can't even tell you how excited I am about this. And I know that people do video courses and pre-recorded courses and things, but I just continue to feel so guided to how powerful it is to come together in real time of what's really going on in the collective that's taking this course. as we move through it, and to bring in Q&A to, each part of these calls, because there's so much going on. But I'll tell you, and this is also the path of the Wayshower, I had really had the goal, which if anybody knows my theory on goals, it's funny to have a goal. And so I was going to get this all to April, the weekend before, the time before that weekend happened. It's a kind of crazy weekend for me where all that happened. And yet this wouldn't flow, and it wouldn't flow, and I could feel it all there, but it wouldn't flow. But it wasn't until I was on the other side of that weekend where I actually had to practice every single thing and embody and totally have an experience of all these different parts of the course, that within a few hours it just flowed through me of exactly what was coming through. And that's how I know it's totally coming from in a channeled space, which means that not only is it the counsel and my higher self, but it's the higher self of everyone that's participating in this course that is creating what is coming through and co-creating this experience together. So it is a 6-part live course with Q&A over the course of 6 weeks, and it is really designed to be absolutely everything that you need to fully embody your role as a Wayshower and live it. So it's practical guidance and channeled wisdom for living, loving, and leading in an awakening world. And so I really encourage you, please read the special offer. Please read the introduction to it and feel for it. I think you will know whether this is right for you. I really wanted to put together something that makes it very easy for you to understand where clearly whether this is right for you or not. And I encourage you, if you read through it, it is my absolute commitment to make this a life-transforming opportunity and experience for everyone that goes through this course. But part 1 is going to be remembering the promise and the divine mission and responsibility of the Wayshower. So really discovering how your own awakening experience uniquely prepared you to be a Wayshower. How do you know if you're a Wayshower? What role you came here to play? Remembering the promise. And that just spoke so deeply to me when that came in, because I have talked to so many people that are part of the Master's Class program and do coaching with me or private sessions, and we all just feel like we made some promise when we came here. And so if you can really remember what that promise was, what your mission is, what your purpose is, you can fully embody it and also know what is your responsibility and what's your duty and what's not. And really, sometimes it's not what we think it is. So really being able to navigate that and practical steps for living your purpose and fulfilling your mission in your everyday life. And then part 2 is the role of the Wayshower. I get this question all the time. How do I use my gifts? How do I use my abilities? How do I use my talents? How do I know what they are, right? And a lot of times people feeling really stuck on what their purpose is and how to use their gifts. So part 2, we're really going to get into that with absolute clarity, discovering your gifts, discovering your talents, discovering your abilities, how to use them, and why your self-worth, self-mastery, self-love, and something we haven't talked about a whole lot, which is so key to being really a Wayshower, is your own self-expression. The council says you are the most beautiful thing that you will ever create. And we are here to create beauty. Beauty in our relationships, beauty in our lives, beauty in our communities, beauty, beauty, beauty. So we're going to be talking a lot about self-expression and other ways that we express ourselves. And really knowing what your role is as a Wayshower. Part 3 is living your divine purpose, co-creating, manifesting, and converting light to form. And how exactly do you convert light into form? What does that mean? How do you convert light into form? It's very different than the sort of old way of manifesting. It's a very, it to me is the next evolution of how co-creation and manifestation works in a higher state of existence or a higher state of consciousness. And I could go into this in detail, but most everything we have created in our lives until now was based on lack and scarcity and not enoughness. And when we are moving into higher states of awareness, things that still have energy of not enoughness and lack and scarcity are seeking to resonate at the higher vibrations that you're in. So how do you really use your light to convert things into form? And how do you draw things to you? When do you draw things to you versus when you radiate light out? So we're going to talk about all that really, really, really powerful, amazing stuff. That thing alone, that one understanding and practice has changed my life in the most extraordinary way. It really is the path to living the extraordinary from my perspective. Part 4 is the new paradigm, which is love, health, success, and money in the 5th dimension. How do you get to the 5th dimension? And most importantly, how do you stay there? And understanding exactly how things work different in the 5th dimension and how to create in the 5th dimension, and really understanding how the old ways of the 3rd dimension are not going to work for you. If you are stuck, frustrated, unclear, feel unable to move forward, things aren't working for you, things aren't manifesting, you are using the old ways of 3rd dimension and trying to bring them in the 5th dimension. And I can give you some very, very simple practical steps of how to stop doing that. And really embracing how things work in the higher dimension. This is really the foundation of why this course, I think, is so important. And then how does love and money and health and success, how is that different in the 5th dimension and how you can really create it? And then part 5 is the New Earth leadership roles. I'm so excited about this one, what it really means to lead the way forward in an awakening world. And here's something important. What is the role of the teacher and the guide and the healer and the wayshower, and how are they different? And more importantly, how to know which role you're playing and when to play each role. Because sometimes we're not there to be the teacher. Sometimes we're not there to be the guide. Sometimes we're there to be the wayshower. Sometimes we're there to embody some different role, and knowing that it doesn't always feel the same. So learning how to really embody the spiritual roles of leadership. What are the spiritual roles of leadership? How to use power and consciousness to create change and impact the world around you. This is just going to be a really, really fun part of the course. So practical steps to love and inspiration and leadership in action. And then we're going to close out the course with a very special bonus call and live Q&A. It's going to be at a little bit special time, so everybody around the world will have an opportunity to join calls live in their normal time frame to ask questions. But in addition, I'm doing something I've never done before on BTO, which is offering the full transcripts of every single part of this course, including the channel messages and the Q&A and everything. It is a very cumbersome thing to take on, but I have never been more certain how important it is to have actually written transcripts of these things so that you can reflect back on them. And sometimes you hear things or understand something in a very different way when you read it. So you will also get the transcript. You will also get $100 off of a private session with the council or a coaching session with me. And if you purchase the special offer before February 11th, you're getting something very, very, very special, which is a pre-recorded message and transcript from the council that will absolutely help prepare you for this course. I really encourage you to, if you're feeling called to do the course, do so right away and get the audio and the written message from the council, which is preparation for this, and it is remembering the dream in your heart, the vision of a better way forward, and really remembering the dream in your heart, because so many times people come to me and say, I don't even remember what the dream is in my heart. And this special item will help you really get clear on what the dream is in your heart and what the vision is of a better way forward. So, all of that for $97. It's regularly a $397 value. It's $97, and John is also graciously offering a 2-payment plan option for you if that is something that makes it easier for you to be able to participate with us. So please take the time and read through the introduction to the course and just feel for the vibration in it. I hope it helps expand you and brings forth some love and some clarity as you step into really knowing what your mission and your purpose is here and embodying that path of the Wayshower. So thank you for letting me share, John.
No, absolutely. And again, it's everyone who's taken Sara's courses that they just keep coming back. And the testimonials, I'm not going to read all of them that came up in the call because I'm going to take another couple of live calls and some questions. But it's, again, the testimonials speak for themselves, and I can vouch for the work. You know, I chose to be on stage with Sara in Los Angeles and share courses and share, you know, ask her to open BTO for us for a reason. And there's resonance, there's truth. And again, she's walking authentically that path, not as an obligation, not a responsibility, but in her joy, in her love, which then becomes her responsibility, her ability to respond to the call of where someone is seeing or asking, is like, please shed a little bit of light, just a little bit of love to help me reawaken that actually exists, that it's there. And as we keep doing that for each other, you are the light bringers, the truth bearers, again, the weight showers, lamp lifters of what's possible for all of us in sharing that authenticity that comes from only being, not doing. And that being, again, the beauty that you shared, Sara, the council says that the most beautiful thing you will ever create is yourself. God, that becomes so prominent. And then that you see how other people are these masterpieces, their sense of beauty as mirrors of the reflection of the beauty that you are. We're so connected. And again, to reflect that connection back to each other through that expansion of love is what Sara does here through all her courses and everything that she teaches. And I highly, highly recommend not only listening to tonight's replay, and again, we're going to take a little more Q&A, but going deeper with Sara and the council and the amazing community that shows up in these courses. Also, you'll be lifted to a whole nother level. So again, I highly recommend it. Take advantage of it. It's only $97 from almost $400, two-payment option, and you can take advantage of it by going to beyondyourordinaryShow.com/Sara18 or by clicking on the special offer button on the webcast page. And Sara, if you're ready, let's jump to some more questions. Are you up for it?
Absolutely. I would love that.
All right, fantastic. So the next call I want to take is from Boston. Telephone number ending in 5358.
Oh, my gosh. I thank you so much for taking my call.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, John. So great to be back. To hear you guys back. I'm so thrilled. I can't believe it. I have had just a lot of chaos in my life for years, but actually it's gotten a little hyped up again. And I recently have had to move, or have moved, and moved jobs and career, and actually am leaving to go to India in a few weeks. And I wondered if you had some insight as to, you know, my small self, my human self, can't see necessarily what all this is about, or all this movement and change is about. And I'm wondering if you had some thoughts about what this is auguring for me.
Oh, I get that. It's just all good, and I understand that sometimes when we're in it, we can't see how it's happening for us. But if you can develop this muscle within you where you absolutely know that everything that's going on in your life is happening for you, that something good is going to come from this, and it is happening for you. This has been a big thing, and the council said that, you know, a lot of us are going to be experiencing change in relationships, changes occurring in our life, and where we live and what we're drawn to, and all of these different things. And yet it is how well we handle that change, which really determines how much trauma and drama we have in our life. And so John and I were actually talking about this as we got on the call, that, you know, it is never the change that's really the problem. It's our reaction to it and how we feel about it. It's our emotions about the change. that cause our own suffering and cause the trauma and the drama and the reaction and the resistance, which is if we will stay in the flow, we really are in this knowing that this is somehow happening for us. And, you know, this is a Steve Jobs quote, so I heard it, and it was a remembering in me, which is that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. So you've got to trust that the dots are all going to connect, and you've got to trust in something greater than yourself. And I can tell you with absolute certainty in my heart, there is always a source that is aware of you, your soul, your higher self, your team, your guides, whatever you want to call it, that are out ahead of you, orchestrating things on your behalf, and they absolutely know what is in your highest and best good. And if you will stay in the flow and allow it to come together and stay in the truth that this is happening for me, and I just can't wait to see how this is all going to come together, and really get excited and enthusiastic about what potentials and possibilities this holds for you. But remember something. When we're in the flow, things are meant to happen easily, effortlessly, and harmoniously. And if we're pushing and we're trying to force it and we're trying to make it happen, that is an old, third-dimensional, limited way of making things happen, and it just isn't going to work for us anymore. So sometimes if you find yourself pushing and forcing, just stop and take a deep breath. And maybe in that moment, the most important thing that you can go do is something that brings you joy, and the answer will come or it'll work itself out. But it is meant to be easy, effortless, and harmonious. And if you can stay in the flow, you will find that ease and grace. And that's where the miracles and the magic happen, when we're in that state of grace. So keep your heart open. I promise it's happening for you. I even absolutely hear that you're going to even know exactly why, but just make that little tiny shift to getting eager and start with enthusiasm, knowing that there's so much good in this for you.
All right. I so yearn for some stability in home, and so this has been, and some kind of security, and so it's been just so many years of upheaval, and just when I thought I was getting stable or stabilized in some fashion, that I could have a base of operation from which to then really contribute, it just got shaken all over again. And so it's just been, you're absolutely right, just an adjustment to have faith and believe that that there's something really good in this, just that I can't see it at the moment.
You know, I want to address that, and I think it's really important, and I'll tell you, I have so much compassion for what you just said.
Thank you.
I think we all are trying to find our way home to that one particular place or relationship or thing that's just going to feel like home, and we're going to feel safe. And what I will tell you is the only place you're ever going to find that is within you. And when you find it within you, it will manifest all around you in the most incredible, beautiful ways. But I had searched a long time to try to find the place where I'd feel like home. And I continually heard the council say this. And when I finally got it and I finally applied it in my own life, I experience more love and community and connection and find more joy and peace in my home, because I know that it is within me, and that's what it's coming from. And so we have this, the council talks about this idea of entanglement, that part of our challenge and why we do experience some trauma and drama is because we entangle ourselves in circumstances. And we make all these agreements. These are all based in third dimension. So from the highest state of conscious awareness, when we're really in these higher states of being, we don't feel a sense of ownership over everything. We feel a flow. We feel an intimacy and a freedom and a harmony. We feel this deep sense of collaboration and feel deep love and co-creation with others and with the environment, the world around us. But from a place of our power and freedom and really knowing your power and knowing your ability to co-create and to manifest and to draw things to you, you don't have such a deep need coming from old feelings of being unsafe, or insecure. And from that place, you don't need to own everything. Meaning, you don't need to own the person you're in a relationship with. You don't need to own your house. You don't need to entangle yourself in order to feel safe, because those aren't the things that will make you feel safe. It's only when you go within and find it there that the world around you can reflect it back to you. And there's really no greater feeling than that moment that you really come home to yourself, that place within you, and love yourself and open your heart. There's so much power in that. There's so much safety in that and security, because you know in every moment that you will be guided, that power will flow through you.
Yeah.
And so just take that with you, and I know what you want. It's there for you. It's coming. It's all going to be there for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so much love for you, and I really honor your courage on this path. I know it takes the very courageous of us to, go through a lot of changes sometimes. So it's all happening for your highest good, though.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you both.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for calling. What wonderful, beautiful hearts. All right, so let's take another question. There's so many great questions coming in. Okay, practical question. We say it's practical, but we'll see. Hold on a second. Oh, well, wait. Actually, really linear kind of questions. Someone wants to know if the payment includes the message and transcript from the council, and the special offer does. You'll bring in the council, and the transcript is included as part of the $97. Again, this is Sarah's just so generous of us. So, yes, that's on there. And what time do the courses start on Tuesdays, Sarah?
They will be at 3 p.m. Pacific time, but there will be a 3 p.m. Pacific time. There will be a special time on the Part 6 call, so that our friends in some other areas have a chance to ask questions live, and it won't be in the middle of the night. So there'll be a chance for everybody to ask questions live during their local time zone.
Fantastic. Kathy in Ottawa, thank you for asking that. And then we have Celia from Romania writing in. She writes, greetings to both of you. Can you please share or give some practical examples of how to give out of our own way?
Oh, it's such a good question. I'll tell you the easiest thing, just stop and just breathe. The council says, your higher self is always out ahead of you, orchestrating things on your behalf and moving things into your trajectory. We do not need to create a vision board and focus on it every day, thinking that that's the only way that Source knows what we really want. Your soul, your higher self, knows what really belongs to you. And I think if we were to, really look into this, what is it that we all really want? We really want what belongs to us. We really want to be where we belong. We want to be with the person and in the place we belong, doing the things we're here to do. We really want what truly belongs to us. Your higher self and your soul already knows what that is, already is moving you in trajectory to that thing, moving it towards you. But usually what we're doing is we're running around in another direction. So, it's like divine orchestration is having to run after you, because you go into trying to figure it out and force it and make it happen, and you start taking all this massive action, and you miss it. You miss it. And so sometimes you just got to stop and take a deep breath and just really be in this moment. And I'll tell you the easiest thing to do to get out of your own way is to stop, to take a deep breath and say, okay, what can I do right now that would really bring me joy, that would really make me happy? And it's funny how often people don't know the answer to that question. Yet, that's all what we want. We want to be happy. We want people we love to be happy. We want the people we care about to be happy. And that's what they want for us. And yet most people in this moment cannot answer the question, what could you do right now that would bring you joy, that would really make you happy? And then go do it. There's nothing more important, because joy is the vibration most closely aligned to the truth of who you are, which means your inspired ideas will come most easily when you're in a vibration of joy. Inspired actions will come easily when you're in a vibration of joy. You'll know exactly where to go and exactly what to do, and it might not, and it probably won't be real logical. But you will feel it. You will be drawn to it. What do you get passionate about? What do you get excited about? What moves you? What excites you? Go do that. If it's turning on a piece of music, if it's cooking something, if it's going out to be in nature, if it's calling someone you love, if it's reading a book, if it's creating, paint something, draw something, do something, even if you're just kind of doodling. Just do something that makes you feel better. And you will get yourself out of your own way. It is almost, I can't think of any occasion where this really is a situation, but the thing that's in your way are the thoughts that you're thinking. And it's usually the thoughts that you're thinking about yourself. That's what's in your way. If you drop into your heart, those thoughts are not there. And, I heard people talk about this before. There's a big difference between having wisdom and using and applying wisdom. My life did not change when I had this wisdom. My life changed when I applied it. And sometimes it was so easy that I just didn't do it. But when you apply this, when you really practice it, and it is a practice. I was giving someone this analogy, but, I love to run. I run almost every day, and we had some rainstorms here, so I didn't run for 2 days. And I had a really great run that I didn't run for a few days, and then I had a really difficult run because I was sort of out of shape just in a few days. And that's what also happens to our thoughts. If you are not practicing the stuff that you know, if you are not focused on it, if you are not really applying this stuff, your brain and your thoughts just take over. And that's what gets in your way. So I hope that was helpful. You don't need my permission to be happy. You don't need anybody's permission to do the things that bring you joy in your life. But if you did, then you have it. Go do what makes you happy. Go do what brings you joy. That is why you're here. And the council will tell you, you are here to experience joy. And joy does not come into this world if it doesn't come through you. They are not like trucking in happiness from some other planet. They are not like shooting light beams of joy down. Like, you have to embody it. You have to choose it. And the council says that joy is a mindset that you choose, not a dream that you chase.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that.
Choose to, it's not even get out of your way. Just choose to be happy and do the things that make you happy. And you'll automatically find yourself in a higher, better feeling vibration.
Exactly. And in the path of the Wayshower, as we step into that, Sarah, we come to realize that we're Wayshowing for ourselves. That it's all a gift for us as well. And the illumination of that, as we just share authentically, and the gifts that show up through that expression, it's like it's raining from heaven flowers just for us in our service, in the innocent service to others, by just holding that container of love and letting guidance show us what to do with it, or guide us into what to do with us, and us having a relationship with that. And that is what you teach, you're embodying. And again, this special offer through BTO and this path of the Wayshower takes us into that and so much more. So again, I want to invite everyone back to the special offer and take advantage of it. And to get there, click on the special offer button, go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Sara, SARA 18. It'll take you to that same page and get on board and open up to what's waiting for you. Open up to your awareness, open up to your power. Embrace who you are and how that's waiting to be shared with you. And God, wait for the floodgates to open in the most beautiful ways that perhaps you haven't experienced before, or maybe glimpsed, and now it's wanted to become a more permanent fixture in your life, not something that turns off and on sporadically outside of our control. So again, the path of the Wayshower is there for you to take advantage of. And tonight's replay, amazing call. We went super long, Sara, and I'm so happy that we did for this first call and what's being shared. We will run the replay all week long, everybody. So we'll send you the replay link a little bit later so you can come back and listen. And again, just drink in just this beautiful energy of love and awareness that's being shared through Sara and her embodiment of that love, the Wayshower energy, the embodiment of the wisdom of the counsel that she's carrying in such a grounded way as well. And it's a testament to what's possible for all of us. So again, take advantage of that replay. And Sara, it's with that I want to thank you so much for who you be and the love that you share, for being such an amazing friend, and for, again, being the inaugural speaker on this amazing season 18 of BTO.
Thank you so much. I love you, and I love April, and I absolutely just have so much love in my heart for this BTO community and all these incredible people around the world who make up the BTO community. So thank you. You have all brought so much love and joy into my life, and I'm just so grateful to be here and be part of kicking off season 18, which I absolutely know is going to be extraordinary in every way. So Thank you. I love you all, and I appreciate you being here with us tonight. And John, of all the people in my life, you are one of those that I am the most grateful for, and I just thank you for who you are and what you bring to the world. So thank you.
You too. Thank you so much. And again, everyone on the call, you guys are amazing. The energy you guys, all of you bring in, guys and ladies. It's such a gift. So Kathy, Celia, Rose, Marie-Louise from South Carolina, Nicole from Quebec. We've got Stephen from Jersey, Mandy from New York, Eileen in New York. Again, you guys go on, and just thank you for sharing your hearts and for, again, helping us to discover more who we really are. I grow with each and every one of these calls, and it's because you allowed that. You showed the way for me. So thank you for being that. And it's with that I bow down and namaste to each and every one of you. And a huge hug, all my love, and look forward to seeing you on the next call. Have a great evening.